Hey YouTube, you know, when I was, I don't know, probably, I want to say maybe 35 years old, I was running a nice little company and things were going well for us. And every now and then we would get a project where, especially in private work, like maybe we would build an addition here and there. Mainly we built houses and did heavy construction, but sometimes we would do jobs, you know, an addition here or there, because I had guys that needed to stay working regardless of, you know, the time of year or whatever. They didn't want to be laid off, and I didn't want to lose them, so I never laid them off. But here's the thing. I had an older guy. I was around 35, and I'd say he was probably at least 70. And this guy was a real worker, and he was a laborer, though. And he never really went past being a laborer in his whole life, but he was in good shape for 70 years old. I mean, he could do all kinds of stuff, move shingles and cement blocks. It didn't matter to him. But the one good thing that I liked about him is that he was real personable. So when we would get a contract with a person who was hard to deal with, and by that I mean someone who really didn't understand construction, they didn't understand the time restraints, they didn't understand, you know, different things about what it takes to do a project, they would sometimes get in the way and stumble all over the place, stopping the foreman from making decisions or stopping even laborers from doing little things. I mean, you know, and it's fine that people are all, you know, into themselves in that. Like I remember one time I was talking to somebody about about building a new house for them, and I heard a car outside, and I said, "Oh, I think that's the guy." You know, we were waiting for another person, and I got up, and all I did was put my one finger on a curtain and move it slightly so I could see outside the window. The woman erupted. She really had a fit because I touched her curtains. She did not want me to touch them. So you can imagine what a person like this is like when you build something for them. Now, when I first saw that, the reason that I didn't go running out of the house was because my mom was like that. My mom was so friggin' fussy, she'd drive you insane over the littlest of things. So anyway, I hung in there, and I did build this building. It was a garage, actually. I built a garage for these people, and every single night we had to vacuum with a vacuum cleaner outside the sawdust that fell on their driveway, because that's how fussy these people were. Now, most people are not that fussy, and you can get away with brooming stuff up or, you know, shoveling some stuff. These people wanted no trace that we were there every single night. And the thing is I sort of was leaning towards that in my career, and I insisted on that with guys, you know, with cleaning their trucks and stuff like that. And it wasn't a far stretch to get to that point. But what I will say is that when someone does not know what's going on, or their decisions to come to a resolution of something, or to decide, make a decision on something, stem from someone else's words or someone else's needs, even if you, like say we moved on to a project and the neighbor's husband was a contractor. Okay, we're starting this project. It would be nothing for the neighbor to every day come over and talk to the people, telling them why what we're doing is wrong compared to what our husband would have done. And this is just the way it is. I mean, people are jealous. They sometimes get jealous. They sometimes just plain old don't want to see someone else get ahead when they're not getting ahead, regardless of you know, whether they're able to do something or not able to do it. So what I'm talking about is a habitual complainer, someone who has to complain because they don't have something someone else has, because A, they either never worked for it, or B, they weren't smart enough to know how to get it. Now, in today's world, it seems like it's our fault because they didn't know how to work hard enough to get it. and B, that they didn't know, how to be, or how they never learned how to do it, which seems insane to me. But I was listening to the news the other day, and I was listening to something that said someone came out, gave a report, and the person said, well, we reject what you said. Well, I always looked at it like this. If I hired a superintendent to look over a project for me and keep track of it, and that project was not making money for me, I would go there and talk to the superintendent. I wasn't going to talk to to a laborer. I needed to know from the superintendent what was going on. Although sometimes the laborers knew more than the superintendents did. But regardless of that, you hire somebody, they do a job, and, they have to do their job correctly. To have somebody working that, has been hired to do an analysis of something, and you hire them, you let them do the analysis, and then you say you reject it, seems to me that person who rejected it is the fool. Because why would you want to pay for somebody to do something, or allow them to do something with, say, like your mom's money or your sister's money or someone else's money? Why would you want them to do it, waste their money, and then say what they did was totally wrong and I don't agree with it? I don't understand this kind of thinking, and I'm having a hard time dealing with it. But what I will say is I'm really glad that I learned over the years how to not listen to that type of talking. And the best way to overcome that kind of nonsense is to just go and do what you were originally going to do and show what the results are. So a lot of times, somebody would be complaining about something, and I would say to them, well, look, just let us finish what you signed the contract for, and when we're done, you tell me if that's not what you wanted. Because in a lot of cases, they didn't know how we were going to get to that point. I mean, I had done work for a guy one time doing some just framing work, and the guy never understood at all just how much there was to framing something out. And he didn't understand, when he looked at the frame, he could not see the finished product. And if you remember the other day I talked about, people that are engineers or architects, one of the best things that they can have in their natural ability is to be able to understand and picture something that someone tells them. So I'm just glad that I was able to get through my career and my working life and not have to put up with too much of the nonsense that's going on today. I mean, it's utter nonsense what I'm seeing on the news and stuff that people put up with. How can you get anything done? And that's the whole point. Nothing's getting done, yet it's costing us thousands and thousands of dollars to do nothing. And it seems like nobody's really caring about it. And I guess the reason it seems like nobody cares is because no one person can make a difference. I mean, whether you're the President of the United States or you're not, it seems like your desire is not something that can take place. Why would we want the President to be there, or why would I want to hire someone to do a job for me knowing that they couldn't do it or thinking that they couldn't do it? So, you have to give people a chance and let them try and do what they say you're going to do. And like I was saying, when I used to work as a contractor, I would sometimes, this old guy I was talking about before, I would actually have him get between the workers and the property owners so that he could keep them away from the people who were doing the production work, who were getting things done, by talking to them and explaining to them. And it cost me money to pay the guy, but and he wasn't producing anything other than talk. However, he was allowing for the other people to do the work, and he became good at it. And because of his age, he could talk about just about any subject to people. And the people that were older seemed to understand that he knew what their concerns were, and that they needed to have a little bit of faith in what was going to happen. And not everybody, believe me, this is like 1 out of 100 people were like this. But it seems to me nowadays that there are so many opinions that are taken as fact, and it stops the work that's in progress. It doesn't matter to me whether we're talking about government stuff or you're talking about private work. I'm concerned about getting work done. Even in my retirement, there's things that we have going that need to get done. And I'm not just talking about our own little personal life here. I'm talking about, you know, venture capital that has been put out, and we need to see a return from this stuff. And sometimes it comes quickly, sometimes it doesn't come at all, depending upon who the people are, and sometimes it takes a little longer. But either way, as long as there's some sort of progress in what's going on, it seems like things, you know, are okay. But in this country, the way things are going, it's like everybody has an opinion, and their opinion is not this, a valid opinion. Only because either they don't know, they don't understand, or they're listening to that proverbial neighbor that knows everything but has never done anything. So, I don't know, I'm just amazed at how things are turning out in the country. I really expected that, even in my personal life, I expected the kids, you know, the children, that after you've done a whole lot of stuff and gained a whole lot of things, that the kids would take the ball from there and continue going. Instead of doing that, it seems as though they have made a wall in between them and the goals that they actually want. It's pretty hard to, you know, follow this way of thinking, but that seems to be what's going on. And I think it's nothing more than trouble. It's not going to help anybody, excuse me, it's not going to help anybody to stop progress. You know, and progress is always going to be. There's a lot of people who don't like things. I don't like them tearing our road apart over here and making a disaster out of the roadway, making me wash my car or my wife's car every single time we go into town because it's covered in dirt. But you know what? This is the way it is for some progress. So yes, I'm willing to put up with this only because I know that they're not doing it just to make trouble for me. That's not why they're drilling for gas. I mean, you know, they're making the money, yes, and whoever does the drilling and the investing, I got to tell you that so with Sally and I doing venture capital at times for people, we expect results. We don't care what it takes. We want the results. And if you know, have people working for you, even politicians working for us, and there's no results, what was the sense of them working and getting paid? They shouldn't be paid. And I think that somehow or another, just like in private industry, things were made so that you had to produce in order to get a raise or to get your next paycheck. It seems now as if people are saying, oh, well, because so-and-so got a raise, that means that I should get a raise. Well, I'll tell you what, that may be okay in a union shop, but it's not okay in the regular world. Because if somebody is going to put out an effort, then they should get paid for that effort. If they're not going to put out an effort, then why pay them what someone gets who does put out an effort? I never could understand that, and I never liked doing that. But anyway, just my 2 cents about just this whole, you know, concept of people thinking they know something when they really don't know anything, and they're just blabbering because they're afraid to death that they may have to produce something on their own and they don't know how to do it. And I think that's part of what the problem is today. This is one of those no-chase dog adapters that we make. I've been in my garage today working on a couple of these. I have some that have to be sent out this week, and I want to get this done. It's already late. You can see in the window over here it's dark out, but I still need to get this work done. This particular one here is actually one for me. What happened was I had a rush order, and I actually had to take one of the dogs off of my own sawmill to get it out there quick enough to them, because I had run out of them in stock. So I'm just making some of these to keep in stock. But this is the what we call a stay put dog adapter. It's bolted to the Acme screw. I'll show you that. These are bolted to the Acme screw that comes with the Woodmizer LT15. So you actually drill and tap the Acme screw and then bolt this bolt into that, and you don't make this so tight that it can't turn. You need it to turn, but this is a nice adapter that stops you from having to chase this thing, because what happens is when you loosen it, it always falls on the ground the way they originally made them. But the way that we make them, they don't come off the Acme screw, and makes it a whole lot easier to be able to work with this. So we also, besides offering this, we also now offer the whole screw assembly with it tapped as well. And I'll get some prices up underneath the video about that in case you're interested in it. But they're not really hard to make. I don't charge a lot for them. It's just something for me to do in retirement here, and you know, if I could get Carmine to be able to make some, which he has already, if it would be a good thing. Nice little something to do, you know, when you have nothing else to do. But anyway, yeah, so we want to get this out, and that's about what we've been doing all day today, working on these and a bunch of other little things. So, guys, I hope you understand what I'm saying about this nonsense where people tend to think they know something and they really don't know anything. I don't understand. I know myself, when the kids were growing up, if they would talk about somebody and say this person is this or this person is that, I would have to sit down with them and have a conversation about, you know, how are you judging what someone is or does or doesn't do? You have to do it by their performance, what comes out of their mouth and their actions, not by just listening to the neighbor. And like I said in the story about the neighbor, it just doesn't work that way. I remember one time we also built an addition for a lady. The addition was 12 by 24. This is when I was in my 20s yet. It was a 12 by 24 addition onto the side of a house. And when the addition was all done, and any contractor out there knows that because of the way the sizes of block and wood are made, that 12 by 24 means to the outside edge of the frame or the outside edge of the cement block foundation. That's normally what we're talking about. So we built a foundation 12 by 24, which allows for no waste. And when we were done building the building, the lady was giving me a hard time because she said the building was short. It was smaller than what she wanted by 4 inches in each direction. So she wanted the inside exactly 12 foot and exactly 24 foot the other way in order to lay some kind of a carpet that she had bought instead of having to cut it. And I says to her, well, that's not what, you know, you asked me for, and because you don't know anything about building construction, you're assuming something that wasn't true. Okay, the standard in the industry is to measure to the outside of the foundation or the outside of, say, steel beams, for instance, or whatever you're working with. It depends on, you know, the application. So she didn't understand, but didn't stop her from giving me about a month's worth of grief until finally I had gotten some people to talk to her, because we had an arbitration section in my contract, and they explained to her that yes, it's standard operating procedure to do something the way I did it and not the way she thought it should be done. And you know, that made all the difference. Of course, the lady was still mad because people don't like to lose, but she lost because of her ignorance. So I think that if we could just take the time in this country to listen to what somebody says before we start saying no. I mean, I know for myself a lot of times, you know, the kids would come in or come to the house, and or you know, they're at the house, and they'd say to me, Dad, I need money for, and I'd say no. They didn't bother to tell me, or I didn't let them tell me what it was about. And all they had to do was say, I need money, and I would say no. And, you know, naturally as the conversation went on, but dad, I'd say, okay, well, what do you want it for? And that's when you go from taking an ignorant stand, which is no, because I heard the word money, and then finally realizing that you need to listen to what they have to say so that you can tell whether they really do need the money or really don't need the money. When you're not willing to do that, all you're doing is making enemies for yourself. Regardless, I mean, you know, like say my wife were to say to the kids, no, we're not spending the money, and no matter what the reason is, the answer is no, that would have meant that both of us were like tyrants. Well, I would play the tyrant part, and Sally would play the, well, come and tell Mommy what you really want this for. And then she would be able to sort of, you know, determine whether this was a real need or some nonsense. And then we would talk about it. But a lot of times I didn't have the time to listen to the nonsense just because the kids were, you know, I was working and they, you know, were wanting what kids want. And sometimes the answer had to be no. So I think that maybe, you know, I hate talking politics, but maybe some of our politicians need to understand this type of generic thinking that, yes, you can say no, but sooner or later you're going to have to listen to the rest of the story. And I don't know where this is going. You can't get anything done if this is what the problem is. I know a lot of times when the kid would say, Dad, I need money for this or that, and they had an allowance, but it might be something special, like maybe it'll be, you know, one of the girls or somebody was going to do some special thing like be in a play and they wanted to have a certain outfit. Well, then, you know, you had to listen to this. But I don't know what's going on, people in this country. I just wish that they would stay working like what I'm trying to do and produce something that's going to make something better for someone rather than saying no to everything and no hopes for anything better. So that's my 2 cents on the subject. Thanks a lot, guys. Hey, you two. So, originally, just to give you an idea of what I've got here, originally we made what was known as the stay put dog adapter. Now the difference between this adapter and the one that comes with your LT15, whether it be the wide or the regular one, is that the adapter that they send you has a tendency to fall off of the Acme screw. And every time it would fall off the Acme screw, you got to go chasing it. And that's why we called it the stay put dog adapter. So what we do is we tap, or drill and tap, the Acme screw that comes with the mill, and then we send you these adapters. Now just for your information, an adapter like this, and I started something new. I had gotten a lot of requests. What happened was people did not want to have to send their screw to me to tap and then put the, you know, the bolt in and stuff with the adapter. So they started asking me if I could send the whole Acme screw and handle and stuff, as well as the adapter. So here's what we have. For a set of these, now that includes the adapter, the bolt, the Acme screw, and the tightening handle, this part is $115 for a pair of these, and that includes shipping. So, you know, if you're in need of a stay put dog adapter, you can now get them with the Acme screw for the LT15 and the tightening handle on it, okay? So it's $115 for a pair of these. If you are a little handy and you have time and you can drill and tap your own Acme screw, then you can buy the stay put adapters, okay, for $45 for a pair of these. So either way, whatever your choice is. I know, like I say, I came up with this because a lot of guys did not have time to be able to make or tap the screw. They just didn't want to have to stop the wood cutting to do it. So now I offer this whole assembly here for $115 for two. That's a pair of them, okay, for the Woodmizer LT15. And like I say, if you are handy, you do have the time, and you can tap your own Acme screw, $45 for a pair of these, okay? So all you need to do is send either $45 check, which includes the shipping, or a $115 check for the two of these, for a set of these as well. And that includes the shipping. Josaljo 1, just like you see it up there. P.O. Box 94, Wellsboro, Pennsylvania, 16901. So get yours before springtime comes and be ready to stop chasing your dog. Have a good one, guys.